My dear friends, we have learned to see how speech comes originally from the artist in man, the primitive artistic, but by no means on that account inferior in quality, and that from the beginning there has lived in speech both a musical and a plastic element. We have, moreover, seen how man's thought life and man's life of feeling lived in his speaking. Bearing this in mind, it will now be our task to try to form a true idea of the art of speech as it is today. Let us then ask ourselves, how do we speak? Assuming we are interested in artistically formed speech, what do we take as our standard? As a matter of fact, life as it is lived today provides us with no true standard. It is indeed sadly lacking altogether in artistic standards. Are there not many people today who enjoy poetry very much, and yet have no knowledge of what a poem is? They take their poetry as if it were prose, looking at the content and having often not the remotest understanding for its artistic form. For them, the artistic quality in the poetry might simply not be there at all. And so, since in the matter of speech we must needs take our start from what can be known and experienced by people at large, after all it is they for whom art is in the first place produced, we shall have to take our start from prose. For notwithstanding the advanced age of civilization in which we live, it is in accordance with the standards of prose that speech is adjudged, even when people profess to be judging it from an artistic point of view. Many things need to be brought into speech, and these all have their origin, not in the head, but in the whole of the rest of man. So it comes to this: what man experiences in the rest of his being must flow up into the head, into the spoken word. Prose, however, having been restricted to the head, has almost entirely lost gesture. Prose can be declaimed with complete absence of gesture, or rather not declaimed, one merely talks prose, prosaically. What does this imply? That in prose, as we have it today, there is a tendency to lose style altogether, and replace it with a mere pointing of certain words. For it is the business of prose to state or tell something quite precisely. And since what has to be told has been acquired by means of the head, it has, in itself, no form. Our thoughts, insofar as they move in prose, are chaotically jumbled together. If it were not so, we would not have in our time the deplorable spectacle of the sciences working alongside one another but unconnected, and of the specialization that goes on in each separate branch of knowledge. Why today one can be reputed a great anatomist and have no understanding whatever for the soul. In reality, that is simply not possible. In reality, one can neither know the soul without some understanding of anatomy, nor know anatomy without some understanding of the soul. And yet it would appear that in our day such a thing is possible. This has come about because the generally accepted form of expression for prose consists in placing thoughts side by side and giving to each its own particular point and emphasis. Style, however, requires continuity of thought. Anyone setting out to write an essay and to write it in style ought already to have his last sentence within the first. He should in fact pay even more attention to the last than to the first. If an author has a true feeling for style in prose, he will have the whole essay before him as he writes. Ask a present-day botanist whether he knows, when he begins to write, what his last sentence is going to be. All feeling for style in the formulation of ideas has completely disappeared. The prose writing of today is based on emphasis and pointed expression, not at all on a feeling for style. What unbelievable expressions one hears used today, This is a matter that calls for serious attention. Prose exists for communication, and we have the task to see how prose can still fulfill its purpose when we have consciously restored style to those elements in it that are tending to lose style altogether. What is it must enter into our speaking when we are telling something? The reason our prose has become styleless is, of course, that it sets out merely to tell and nothing more. That has been the tendency all through. The Greeks were sensitive to style. Today we have consciously to learn these things, and that can be done only by calling on the whole human being to take part in the resurrection of style, in the forming of the word, and right into the actual speaking itself.